There are moments in life that don't just change your path, they ignite something inside you, a spark, a fire, a truth you can never unsee again. And this story begins with one of those moments. A moment when a woman, calm on the surface but burning on the inside, heard 7 words that would flip her entire world upside down. Give me your husband. You don't deserve him. Those words didn't just break boundaries, they shattered them. They didn't merely cross a line, they erased it completely. And in that instant, a betrayal she never imagined was unfolding right in front of her eyes. But what her enemy didn't know was that she was speaking to a woman who had been quiet for far too long. A woman who had swallowed her pride, dimmed her light, and carried everyone else's burdens on her shoulders. But this time, she wasn't going to bend. She wasn't going to break. She was going to rise. Because revenge isn't born from anger alone. It's born from clarity. It's born the moment a woman finally sees who's standing with her and who's standing against her. And in that split second, she understood the truth. Some betrayals don't destroy you. They reintroduce you to the strongest version of yourself. So stay with me, because what started with arrogance will end with justice. What began as humiliation will transform into empowerment, and the woman they tried to play will become the woman they'll never forget. This is not just a story of betrayal. This is a story of awakening, of strategy, of a revenge so precise it leaves the guilty speechless. And when you hear what she said in response to that bold demand, when you witness the moment she turns the entire game around, you'll understand why this revenge story echoes long after the final word is spoken. Get ready. The fire has been lit, and the woman they underestimated is about to burn their whole plan down, inch by inch, truth by truth, victory by victory. This is where her revenge truly begins. The betrayal didn't arrive quietly. It crashed into her life like a storm ripping shingles off a roof, loud, violent, and impossible to ignore. For years, she had welcomed this woman into her home, poured her coffee, shared her secrets, offered her comfort. She believed trust was the foundation of their friendship, but trust can turn into a weapon when placed in the wrong hands. And that day, her friend wielded it with brutal arrogance, with a straight face and a smile that carried poison. She leaned forward and spoke the words that would burn themselves into memory forever. Give me your husband. No shame. No hesitation. Just entitlement wrapped in confidence, as if she were asking for a cup of sugar. That moment froze the air. It felt like a slap without a hand being raised. A demand so outrageous, so unforgivably bold. It snapped something deep inside her. A place she had protected, tolerated, and convinced herself didn't need defending. It wasn't just about the request. It was about everything hidden inside that request. The audacity, the envy, the years of disguised jealousy she had mistaken for affection. She saw it all in one blinding instant. Every compliment the woman had given her about her marriage suddenly felt like a scouting mission. Every time she lingered too long, every laugh that sounded too soft around her husband, every glance that lasted just a beat longer than friendship would allow, it all came together like puzzle pieces forming a horrible image. Betrayal never comes from enemies. It arrives from those we let close enough to touch the parts of our life we guard most fiercely. And she realized then that her friend had never been visiting her home. She had been circling it, watching it, studying it, waiting for the right moment to strike. That request wasn't impulsive, it was calculated. It came from a woman who thought she deserved better, who believed she could reach into another woman's life and claim what she envied. She expected shock, she expected weakness, she expected silence. What she didn't expect was the spark that ignited that very moment, an awakening inside the wife, a fire long buried under politeness and patience. This was not a woman who would crumble. This was a woman standing at the edge of betrayal with her fist clenched around the truth of what was happening. And suddenly, everything made sense. The friend's sudden interest in the husband's job, her overly familiar jokes, the way she had begun dressing a little too intentionally for casual visits. The wife wasn't blind. She had simply given loyalty where loyalty was not deserved. But this betrayal cut deeper because it was personal. It wasn't a stranger coveting her life. It was someone she trusted, someone she had allowed into her sanctuary, and that act, that question, was the match dropped on a forest of dry, waiting anger. Her heart didn't just crack, it transformed. Betrayal has a way of revealing a new version of oneself, a version carved from truth, sharpened by pain, and strengthened by resolve. She felt her emotions solidify into something powerful, something unbreakable. The friend thought she was dealing with the same soft, accommodating woman she had always known. But the words, "Give me your husband," shattered the final remnants of that softness. In its place rose a woman who wouldn't just defend what was hers. She would expose the serpent that had slithered into her home. This was no ordinary request. This was a declaration of war, and in that moment, she knew the friend's arrogance would be her downfall, because betrayal might spark the fire, but revenge would feed it. She had spent years swallowing her silence, smoothing over conflict, carrying the weight of a marriage and a home as if she were built from unbreakable stone. She had played the roles society carved out for her: patient, forgiving, understanding, until patience itself became a cage. Every sacrifice she made was dismissed, every effort she poured into her family overlooked, every tear shed in private forgotten as soon as the sun rose again. But there comes a moment in every woman's life when the scale tips, when the burden becomes too heavy, when the soul whispers, "Enough." Betrayal didn't just wound her, it unlocked something fierce inside her. She realized she had molded herself into a version the world accepted, soft, gentle, accommodating, while burying the powerful version of herself underneath layers of fear and self-control. The request her friend made didn't just offend her. It broke through every wall she had built to keep her anger quiet, to keep her strength tucked away, to maintain harmony at the cost of her own dignity. Suddenly she understood she had been living in a reality crafted by others, one where she was expected to stay quiet, stay grateful, stay small. But when someone attempts to steal your life, your love, your loyalty, it forces you to confront who you've really been all along. And who she really wasn't weak. Her years of endurance hadn't made her fragile. They had made her sharp. They had forged a woman who knew how to survive storms, how to rebuild after devastation, how to carry pain without letting it destroy her. But she was done carrying it. She was done shrinking herself to make others comfortable. She could feel the shift within her like a quake. Her back straightened, her voice steadied, her heart hardened. The humiliation she once feared now fueled her. She would no longer allow people to step into her life like it was a buffet to choose from. She would no longer be the woman who apologized for demanding respect. She would no longer be the one who held the world together while others picked it apart. When pushed past a breaking point, a woman either collapses or transforms, and she transformed. This betrayal didn't crush her, it awakened her power. The friend thought she was dealing with a timid soul, but she had awakened a lioness, and the wife knew in that moment that her revenge would not be loud, wild, or reckless. No, it would be calm, calculated, and devastating. Because the most dangerous woman is the one who has nothing left to lose, but everything left to reclaim. Just when her anger reached its peak, fate placed a weapon in her hands. A truth so sharp it could tear through lies, pride, and the false power her friend believed she held. It arrived not as a whisper, but as a revelation that made her entire world stop. She discovered that her husband wasn't as innocent as she believed, and her friend wasn't as clever as she imagined. Hidden messages, late-night calls, moments that suddenly made too much sense. Pieces of a puzzle she didn't even realize she had been assembling. But the greatest twist, the one that would shift the entire battle, wasn't simply that they had secrets. It was the nature of those secrets. The friend had always acted confident, bold, superior. But beneath that confidence was desperation. She didn't desire the husband out of love, passion, or admiration. She desired him out of envy. She didn't want him because he was good. She wanted him because he belonged to someone else. It was obsession masquerading as power. And the husband. His weakness wasn't love, it was ego. He enjoyed being adored, praised, desired, even if it meant betraying the woman who gave him everything. Yet he underestimated the intelligence of his wife. They both did. What they didn't know was that the wife didn't intend to expose their truth with rage. She intended to use it. Secrets are leverage. Secrets tip the scales. And the secret she uncovered wasn't just evidence of betrayal. It was the key to reversing the entire narrative. The friend expected a broken woman. The husband expected a forgiving one. But what they got was a strategist. She began documenting everything. Messages, financial discrepancies, false stories, hidden motives. She learned that her friend wasn't after her husband. She was after her stability, her life, her security. And her husband. He didn't even realize he was being played like a pawn in someone else's envy. This truth didn't devastate the wife. It empowered her. It allowed her to stand in front of both of them not as a victim, but as a woman holding the truth like a blade. It allowed her to craft a revenge so precise that it would leave no room for argument, no space for excuses, no chance for redemption. The secret gave her clarity. It gave her purpose. It gave her a reason to smile calmly in the face of betrayal, knowing she held the one thing her enemies feared most: power. And when she finally confronted them, her words didn't tremble. Her heart didn't race. She spoke with the confidence of a woman who had risen from the ashes with fire in her eyes. And that was the moment they realized. They hadn't just crossed a line. They had awakened their worst nightmare. She didn't rush. She didn't scream. She didn't tear through drawers or confront anyone in a blaze of fury. Rage makes people reckless. But she had evolved past rage. She chose precision. She chose patience, the kind that sharpens a woman into something powerful, something almost frightening. Revenge. She understood, wasn't about chaos. It was about control. And control was exactly what she reclaimed the moment she stopped reacting and started planning. She began to move with quiet purpose, gathering every detail, every lie, every secret being whispered behind her back. She watched them, the friend with her smug confidence, the husband with his guilty indecision. Both so sure they were smarter than her, both so certain she was too fragile to see the truth. She let them believe that. A good strategist knows the value of letting the enemy underestimate her. The more invisible they thought she was, the more lethal she became. She studied their patterns, their weaknesses, the cracks in their relationship built on lust and deception. She didn't confront, she observed. She didn't cry, she calculated. She knew that the most devastating revenge is the one delivered without warning but with undeniable proof. So she collected everything: receipts, messages, voice notes, timestamps. Not to expose them impulsively, but to build a fortress of truth that neither of them could escape from. And while she worked in silence, she transformed herself. She became emotionally untouchable. Their betrayal no longer hurt. It became her fuel. Every lie they told was another brick in the weapon she was constructing. Every fake smile the friend gave, every guilty glance from her husband only strengthened her resolve. She made herself unshakable. She upgraded her mindset, her appearance, her attitude. She didn't hide away, she evolved in plain sight. Rivals expect a broken woman. They never expect a woman glowing with new strength, new confidence, new fire. She learned to smile, the kind of smile that unsettles the guilty. And all the while, she kept gathering evidence. She reached out to her lawyer quietly, prepared her financial backup plan, positioned herself so that when the moment came, everything would snap into place like a trap closing. Her revenge wasn't about destroying them emotionally. It was about stripping away every illusion of control they believed they had over her life. She waited for the perfect moment. Not too soon, not too late. Timing is everything in strategic revenge. She chose a day when they were most relaxed, most comfortable, most unguarded. She made sure the friend was in the room. She made sure her husband could not deny anything. She had everything recorded, documented, organized. She held the truth like a blade behind her back, waiting to reveal it with devastating accuracy. Her plan wasn't shaped by hate, it was shaped by strategy. She wasn't trying to hurt them. She was aiming to free herself, reclaim her dignity, and expose who they truly were. She didn't need to raise her voice. The truth would do the cutting for her. When she finally stepped into the confrontation, she was steady, calm, and unbreakable. She knew the friend was about to face consequences she never imagined, and the husband was about to realize he had crossed the wrong woman. They had plotted behind her back, but she had planned above their heads. This wasn't revenge fueled by rage. It was revenge delivered by a woman who understood power, a woman who rebuilt herself from the inside out, a woman who chose intelligence over impulse. And by the time her plan unfolded, it was already too late for them. Her precision ensured they didn't simply lose. They lost in a way they would never forget. The room was heavy with silence, the kind that settles before a storm, the kind that warns everyone present that something irreversible is about to unfold. The friend sat with her usual smugness, legs crossed, confidence dripping from her like perfume. Her husband hovered nearby, shifting with the discomfort of a man who sensed danger but didn't know its source. That's when she walked in, not with rage, not with tears, but with a calmness that froze their breath. She placed her phone, her documents, her evidence on the table with the precision of someone laying down cards she already knew would win. And before anyone could speak, the friend repeated her audacious declaration, leaning back as if she owned the moment. "Just give me your husband." Those words hit the air again, but this time, they didn't pierce her. They empowered her. They weren't a weapon aimed at her, they were a trigger she had been waiting for. She looked directly into the friend's eyes, not blinking, not wavering, and responded with a sentence so fierce it cracked through the room like thunder. Her voice didn't rise, it deepened, sharp and deliberate. The voice of a woman who had stepped fully into her power. And suddenly, the friend's smirk faded. Confidence melted into fear. This wasn't the same woman she had tried to belittle. This wasn't the same wife she thought she could intimidate. This was a force, a storm, a truth she never saw coming. The husband's face blanched as she began to reveal everything, every message, every lie, every secret. Not screaming, not crying, but calmly, methodically, as though she had rehearsed it countless times. Each piece of evidence was another blow, another crack in their false alliance. And as the truth unfolded, the friend's arrogance dissolved. She shifted, trembled, tried to interject, but the wife didn't let her. Her silence, her poise, her control, those were her weapons now. She turned to her husband last, and the weight of her gaze made him shrink into himself. He realized too late that he hadn't betrayed a weak woman. He had betrayed a strategist. She explained the financial steps she had already taken, the preparations she had made, the consequences that were already in motion. She didn't need revenge through chaos. The truth itself destroyed them. Her final words in that confrontation weren't screamed. They were delivered with cold clarity that echoed long after she walked away. In that moment, the friend realized she had staged a battle she was never equipped to fight. And the husband understood he had crossed a woman who could rise higher from the ashes than he ever imagined. That bold declaration, "Give me your husband," may have initiated the confrontation, but her response ended it. And it ended with her holding the power, the dignity, and the final word. Her victory didn't explode. It resonated. It didn't fade. It evolved into something greater. Because her triumph wasn't about destroying her enemies. It was about restoring herself. When she walked away from that confrontation, she didn't look back. She didn't need to. The woman who once doubted her worth had shed that skin entirely, stepping into a version of herself that was stronger, wiser, and untouchable. She understood now that betrayal could wound her, but it could never define her. She carried herself differently. Shoulders back, chin lifted, eyes sharp with clarity. She reclaimed her life piece by piece, rebuilding her foundation with intention instead of obligation. The peace she created wasn't fragile, it was fierce. It was earned. She invested her energy in healing, in rediscovering parts of herself she had buried while trying to please others. She learned to trust her intuition again, to protect her boundaries like sacred ground, to give love to herself before offering it to anyone else. And that transformation echoed further than her own heart. The friend who once tried to dismantle her life now had to face the collapse of her own facade. She was exposed publicly, socially, emotionally. The husband had to live with the knowledge that the woman he betrayed rose higher than both of them combined. He had expected her to break. Instead, she rebuilt. Her victory lingered in the air long after the confrontation, like a warning, like a lesson, like a testament to the power of a woman who refuses to be diminished. People around her noticed the change, the glow of confidence, the calm in her voice, the strength behind her smile. They admired her resilience, her dignity, her refusal to fall apart. And her enemies, they felt her silence more sharply than any insult. They watched her thrive while their own choices turned into chains around their ankles. This was the kind of victory that doesn't just settle a score, it rewrites the story. It redefines power. It shifts the balance forever. She didn't just reclaim her peace, she elevated it. She didn't just gain freedom, she gained a future untouched by deceit. And the echo of her triumph followed her everywhere, not as a reminder of her pain, but as a reminder of her strength. She became the kind of woman other women looked up to, the kind men regretted losing, the kind traitors feared. Her victory was not loud because it didn't need to be. It lived in every choice she made afterward. Every breath of confidence she carried, every moment she stepped forward without hesitation. It was the victory of a woman who refused to be broken, one that would echo for a lifetime. In the end, her journey wasn't defined by the betrayal that tried to break her. It was defined by the strength she discovered because of it. She walked through fire. But she didn't come out burned, she came out transformed. The woman who once doubted herself, who once questioned her worth, now stood in the full light of her power. She had faced her enemies head-on, not with chaos or desperation, but with precision, truth, and unshakable confidence. Every trap laid behind her back collapsed under the weight of her intelligence. Every lie whispered against her was silenced by her evidence. Every insult thrown at her became fuel for her victory. Her friend, so bold, so arrogant, so hungry for what wasn't hers, was left speechless in the wreckage of her own deceit. The husband who underestimated her walked away knowing he had destroyed the best thing that ever happened to him. Their downfall wasn't caused by her hands. It was caused by their choices. She simply revealed their truth to the world. And sometimes, truth is the sharpest revenge of all. But her victory wasn't just about exposing them. It was about reclaiming herself. She rebuilt her life with a new kind of strength, a new kind of clarity. She created a future where peace wasn't something she hoped for. It was something she demanded. A future where she refused to shrink for anyone. A future where she chose herself first, every single time. She didn't just escape the betrayal, she rose above it. Higher than they expected, stronger than they imagined, and happier than they ever wanted her to be. This wasn't the story of a woman who fell. This was the story of a woman who rose, louder, braver, sharper, wiser. And her final victory echoed far beyond that room, far beyond those people. It echoed in every decision she made afterward, every boundary she protected, every smile she carried, every peaceful night she finally earned. Because real revenge isn't about destroying someone else. It's about rebuilding yourself so fully that their actions no longer hold any power over you. Her revenge was complete. But her story, it was just beginning. And if this journey has shown you anything, if her strength, her strategy, her transformation has moved you, then make sure you stay with us. Stories like this are not just entertainment. They are reminders of the fire that lives inside every person who refuses to be broken. So if you felt inspired, if you felt empowered, if you want more stories that shake your heart and ignite your spirit, make sure you hit that SUBSXRB button right now. Subscribe for more stories of courage, justice, revenge, empowerment, and unforgettable twists. Subscribe so you never miss the next powerful journey. Subscribe because somewhere out there, another story is waiting to awaken the strength inside you. Her revenge may be finished, but yours might be the next chapter. Subscribe and stay connected to the fire.